and I don't think that's where we want them to be learning about any of these topics.
According to her official biography, posted on the official website for the Arlington Public Schools, Christina Diaz and Torres joined the Arlington Public School Board on January 1st, 2021, and currently serves as the chair. Before we begin this rather topical discussion, it may be rather helpful for our viewers to be a bit more familiar with the qualifications that Ms. Diaz-Torres brings to this particular discussion. And she is a graduate, some may be very grateful to learn, of New York University, NYU, ranked 35th amongst the 439 national universities by U.S. News Report, slightly below 24th ranked UVA, and tied with several fine colleges, including University of California, Santa Barbara, University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign campus, and University of Wisconsin at Madison. Ms. Diaz-Torres had graduated with dual majors in economics and history, but had performed some graduate work sometime later, apparently, holding a master's degree in education from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, ranked 195th for at least undergraduate work, where she had specialized in secondary mathematics, and she now prides herself on her being data-driven, getting the data, as she says, and she believes every student has a right to succeed. Ms. Diaz-Torres, a native of Boston, before arriving in Arlington, is a former teacher and education policy specialist with experience in the classroom, according to her bio. And upon graduation from the 35th ranked NYU, she had been deemed qualified by some hiring authorities to have been employed as a preschool assistant teacher in New York City, now a full teacher after graduating as a double major from NYU, and later demonstrated sufficient potential to take on a position as a high school math teacher in Las Vegas, perhaps after her master's studies. At some point later, Ms. Torres moved on to become an education policy consultant, supporting school districts, state education agencies, and education organizations across the country to improve student outcomes by creating evidence-based systems and policies. How successful those were are not recorded on the official website, but we know that she had performed this type of work. And currently, when not serving as a public school board chairperson in Arlington, Ms. Diaz-Torres works at a leadership development organization, apparently claiming to help civic and elected leaders eradicate educational inequities across the country. And this brief synopsis of Ms. Torres-Diaz, background in education may assist some of our viewers to hold a better or firmer comprehension in their head of her perspectives on this particular issue, and to better appreciate her rather intriguing position on this rather controversial issue.
Harken back to the line that Ms. Secker-Sutton pointed out. Staff deliver a family life education curriculum that is developmentally appropriate and that recognizes the sensitive nature of the content. I'm gonna really dig into those words, developmentally appropriate.
Ms. Diaz-Torres built on the comments of her colleagues and harkens back to comments regarding how staff deliver a family life curriculum that is developmentally appropriate, as she says, and that recognizes the rather sensitive nature of the content, assuming, of course, unto herself and the public school administration the reserved responsibility for assumption of these arguably parental responsibilities delegated. Parents quite apparently unable or perhaps just unwilling to assume these obligations for their children. And let's listen just a bit more regarding exactly how Ms. Diaz-Torres amplifies upon her rather interesting perspective, shall we?
And at the risk of offending some, I'm going to be very blunt about what the alternative is. The alternative of not having a coherent, developmentally appropriate, sensitive instruction on family life education is the internet. The internet is neither developmentally appropriate, nor is it sensitive to students' needs, nor does it provide them a venue for them to be able to ask questions in a safe space, nor is it considerate of the whole big picture of their overall mental health state. The internet is a very, very scary place.
Ms. Diaz-Torres frames the issue into a rather simplistic dichotomy, absent from the real world, arguably a false one, in which there are only two possible alternatives to consider, either one or the other, in categorical exclusion, positing that if she and her dedicated and professional staff, of course, at the public schools do not undertake this responsibility, very serious one, arguably a parental obligation, the children are left in an abandonment, vulnerable to the predatory prowess of the open internet, where we must assume from her arguments, parents also have abdicated any parental responsibilities, therefore leaving these children open to innumerable threats and risks in what Ms. Diaz-Torres described as a really scary place, with great fear, apprehension in her eyes, for which she and her dedicated staff, however, and therefore, are rather ready, willing, and able to provide protection for these children of neglectful parents. Let's continue to listen to this rather intriguing and engaging argument.
And as we have seen over the past 30 years since the dawn of the internet, we have seen a lot of very negative behaviors come out of a lack of appropriate sexual education across our country. And we see rises in domestic violence, we see dropping in mental health supports and in mental health status. We see students with from a variety of different backgrounds who are experiencing sexual violence, who experience sexual humiliation, any sort of negative experiences. And if we do not give them the space in a controlled environment where they are being instructed by a teacher who is a professional at this, where they can ask questions in a space that is safe, where they can have access to resources that are at the level that they are at and not beyond, they're going to go find this on the internet. And I don't think that's where we want them to be learning about any of these topics.
Provided in these safe spaces erected to eliminate the dangers waiting in these dangerous places. A rather simplistic, in my view, and dualistic comprehension of reality that empirically attests shall continue to exist and be wholly available to these children as soon as the final bell rings at the end of last class period, and a real world for which they are supposed to be prepared to enter upon graduation, but where presumably equipped with this modified guidance to align with past practices. These children will now be impervious to breakthrough infractions waiting on the internet. This message was approved by Major Mike Webb. Honest.